G'day, boys. All right, Dan. Got any updates for the car after the last race? Yeah, just the one. Go on, Marcel, show him. Yeah, this funny. You guys are funny. Hello, welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed. He's called Zog.
Hello.
He's called Richard.
Hello.
And we like to think we know about cars, don't we? Three of us? We know about cars? Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't be doing this show. But it's something that you have to sort of keep up with. We know plenty about Jaguar, Ford, Porsche, Aston Martin, brands which have been around for decades, centuries in some cases, just about. But there's some movement off the ball. There are new car companies emerging. You might call them startups in some ways, or certainly new brands, mostly owned by larger concerns. We'll start with Lynk & Co. We talked about Lynk & Co. a few years ago on the programme, but now they're making cars. And they're not bad looking. Look at this. I've got a picture here. You have to search for this online. I'm not sure which one this is. Is this the Lynk 02? The Lynk 2, I think possibly it's called.
Is that the saloon?
It's not. It's a sort of an SUV, really, looking a bit like
I
a...
thought that was the one, but I could be wrong.
You know more than me. See, I don't know about this. This is the thing. But that's a complete steal from a Porsche nose, isn't it, Zog? That?
It is, yeah. From that picture, it looks like a slightly sloppily executed take on a
Cayenne, yeah.
I'd say that's probably not a very flattering angle. That from other angles, it does actually look a bit more its own thing. I'd struggle to call it attractive, but I can see what they're trying to do.
It's distinctive, isn't it?
It's distinctive and have their own thing going on, because Lynk & Co. is they've confected out of thin air. It's Geely, and they are Geely.
Yep.
They are the owners of Volvo, and they are also the owners of the London Taxi Company, and they have a lot of interests in Lotus now as well.
They share a lot of tech, Lynk & Co. with the Volvo. Is it the XC40? It's a similar platform.
That's on the same platform, the sort of crossways engine, small platform.
Listen to this. This is the guff from their website about who Lynk & Co. are, right? We are the new car brand for a world that doesn't need one.
What?
They actually said that. We are the new car brand for a world that doesn't need one. Whether they mean car or brand, I don't know.
Or a we.
They are targeting the young professional demographic. Lynk & Co. The name Lynk is meant to evoke connectivity and communication. The Chinese name of the brand is Linke, a transliteration of link. This is a given meaning where you have to look at the symbol. There's a symbol, and it means to lead with open mind in style, design, and cutting-edge technologies. That symbol actually means that. What do they call it? Character. Character is the word I'm looking for. While the second character in the name means to amend with innovations in trilateral space between human, vehicle, and environment for better traffic.
That'll be a recently developed character, maybe. But
Is that what they do with Mandarin and Cantonese and things like that? Do they have a... Because, in the way that in France they have that...
Academy Française. To police the language and decide
we're
what is
going
French.
to call it the internet. No. We're going to think of a French way of saying that. I don't know whether in China they do the same thing, or they just invent new...
They probably...
They're going to have to, aren't they? Because you go, OK,
there are an awful lot of those characters.
And they go, well, we can't... Yes, it's called the internet in your alphabet. That's not our alphabet. We're going to have to figure out what will symbolise the internet in our language. Which is... Somebody's got to come up with that.
Lynk & Co. is planning to use a direct-to-consumer sales model in most markets, including the United States. Very weird in the States, because they like a dealership in the States, don't they? The whole direct sale is unusual in the States.
But becoming
they don't
less
like a dealership,
so.
but it's all a bit of a cosy, isn't it? This is what Tesla have been trying to bust wide open.
Yeah.
That's why Tesla aren't allowed to be sold in certain states through their model of shops and direct trading, because car dealers have objected to it, and they've clearly got a few quid to lobby against any change to their shabby, lousy business model that doesn't treat customers always very well.
And get this, they're not going to build their cars in trim levels. Well, they're already building them. There's no trim level. Each car is ordered by the buyer and customised using equipment packages through variations. so it's quite limited. The little packages like get
But
the
you
chili
can
pack on the
you
Mini,
can
remember?
customise. You can have your car custom built from a range of options.
Yeah.
And it will then be built to order.
Yeah,
effectively.
but there's one model, basically, one trim level, and you can add packages to that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Lynk & Co. reported sales of 120,000 vehicles in China in 2018. The first full year the brand was on the market. The marque has opened 221 retail outlets in China. Retail, not dealerships, retail outlets. Interesting. And if you look at the website, it looks like a fashion website. It really does.
The name Lynk & Co., the talk about communication, that name and the idea of referencing and making part of your culture, that connectivity and communication, that is an important part of the way that so much of our culture is going and changing. If you're going to cook up a brand out of nowhere, that's not a bad thing to hang it on.
Find
I think,
an angle.
you know,
That's it. But you wouldn't bet against them as well, because first of all, their parent company is massive.
Yeah.
Volvo technology, so it's
They've
been
got
developed
good
by
people
a
to
company with a great deal of
lift tech from.
experience. And Peter Horbury, ex-head of Volvo design, now head of all design for Geely, is overseeing it all. So there's a lot of credibility there.
Heritage.
Fair play. Well, it's not really heritage, is it? They're trying to confect it from nothing. But if you scratch the surface, if you are interested, you realise they know what they're doing.
some solid foundations for what
knowledge
they're
and
doing.
experience back there, but then sort of plastered with this new idea. I mean, the "and co" bit is rather twee, but,
I agree.
but everything else about it seems very modern and fair enough.
Are they the Mumford and Sons of car?
I never understood that.
As in the appeal of.
So that's Lynk &
No, I
Co.
don't mind them. I know it's quite fashionable to say they're crap because nobody likes posh pop stars, do they? That's the thing. That's fundamentally what the problem is. In Britain, we don't like posh pop stars.
I don't know, I can't say I've ever had that problem, but I've just never really seen the appeal of Mumford & Sons.
I quite liked their first album, and then the second one, there was so much bloody banjo work on it. It all sounded like chase music from a 1920s film.
Yeah, which is fine, 5 minutes of it at a time you're okay with, but
Yeah,
the whole
it's
album,
just a bit exhausting.
Okay, here's another one. BYD. BYD, Build
Bid.
Your Dream.
Bid.
Another bid.
Bid. No, I think they don't call them Bid, I think.
Really? The capital's BYD, I would have always said, the initials. But it stands for Build Your Dream. They have a car. You see it around London. There's loads of them. An electric car called the
taxi,
called the E6.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't buy them. You can only lease them. And the only contact number, I was looking into this, for BYD is a Dutch phone number, 0031. That's the Netherlands, isn't it? The international dialing code of the Netherlands, I think. Or is it France?
possibly.
No,
3-3 is France. I think.
Okay, it's definitely the Netherlands then, yeah. That's just slightly odd. The reason I'm talking about them, because they're here now. In North London, we've got electric buses now on some of the lines that run sort of the Holloway Road. And that bus is, all the electrical stuff on board is from BYD. And it's built in the UK in a partnership with Dennis, I think, the people who used to make the fire engines. So it's
Still do, I think. And dust
yeah, I
carts.
think you're right, yeah. So it's a classic sort of Chinese 50-50 joint venture. They like that, don't they?
Well, is it? Or are they just buying in the same way that buses have traditionally been made? Is that
Always
there's a
the
chassis
body,
supplier
yeah.
and there's a body
Maybe you're
coach
right.
builder. So I don't know whether it's necessarily a 50-50 partnership. They're just buying chassis and engines or drivetrains from.
But they charge in 2 hours. These buses charge in 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and then they get a whole day use out of them. That's a great question.
What speed of charge are they using?
I'd love to know.
I would guess it's possibly two things. I mean, okay, yeah, it's probably a higher voltage, higher capacity, higher powered charger. And if you're charging up fleets of buses, you can afford to spend a bit more for your infrastructure, your charging stuff. But also, maybe they just actually, compared to a car, kilo for kilo, if you like, they don't need to charge up quite as much. They don't, because they don't need quite as much range. I mean, how many miles does a
lot
bus...
of power just to get a bus moving, aren't you? So
Yeah, but
they're
you've got
constantly stopping.
regenerative braking, so...
Yeah, it's not putting that much back in, I suppose. They're relatively easy. Because I sort of think
But how many miles does a bus do in
it?
a day?
Well, if it's
Oh, that's a good
working
question.
for 8 hours a day, and let's assume it's doing, 20 mile per hour, which is the speed limit in London.
Well, while it's running,
Yeah.
usually you're spending a lot of time stuck
Accelerating
at the bus
and
stop.
decelerating,
So,
yeah.
okay, so let's say during the course of a day, allowing for stops, the bus is doing an average speed of 10 miles an hour. Okay, let's say 10 miles an hour. So you're doing 10 miles an hour for 8 hours. It's 80 miles.
Yeah. But that's it. But
it's not very much.
To move so much more weight around, though, particularly with full of people.
Oh, sure. So
it's going to be sapping your battery a bit. I'm sure I also saw the Mercedes announced a new electric bus. I'm sure it said it had a 200 kilowatt hour battery on it.
Much bigger than a car.
Way bigger than a car. I mean, you suppose
you've got the room for it.
But the way I'm thinking about it is that let's just think about this really simply. If you and I were going to take a very simple approach to turning electric car tech into electric bus tech, and then think about how that's going to affect its charging. If you basically take 3 electric cars and put those bits inside one bigger body to make your electric bus, you've got a thing that weighs 3 times as much and is 3 times as powerful as your car, which is probably ballpark. We're getting into bus territory at this point, maybe a small bus. If it's got the same batteries, you could just use 3 different charging points to charge up the same batteries at the same time.
Yeah. So I was going to suggest.
Just as saying that with more than one charging port and with the batteries, all of these electric cars, they're all using storage that involves many, many, many smaller cells. None of them are using one big car battery like
package
most of us have in our cars. They've got stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of cells.
I've got a good idea. How a bus company save a few quid on their electricity bill. All these new electric buses, when you sit in your seat, there's a charging cable for your phone. Everyone's going to like that, aren't they? Thoughtful. I can juice up my phone a little bit while I'm riding on the bus, but it's not a charging cable. Sucking electricity out of your phone.
I like it. I love it. I love the
And it'll take a while for people to cotton onto this.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Very good.
How
All right.
many iPhones would you need to be draining to keep your bus running?
Well, there were 3,000 iPhone batteries in a Tesla Roadster, wasn't that what they said? The equivalent?
Laptop batteries, I think.
Yeah, I think they're
Are you sure? I think it was. Yeah?
Yeah, because the laptop batteries are more generic.
Okay. All right, moving on to Borg-Ward. Now, Borg-Ward's an old name, German company, tremendous heritage, largely forgotten. What I didn't realise about the new Borg-Ward is
that it's some kind of intergalactic hive mind civilization that lives in big cubes.
Borg-Ward. It's a place where cybernetic organisms
where sick
go.
Aliens go to, right.
The Borg-Ward.
Yes, the Borg-Ward.
Borg-Ward. This version is actually registered in Germany. I thought it was just a Chinese company sort of licensing the name, but it's not. It's actually
what are they doing?
He's called Christian Borg-Ward. He's the grandson of Carl Borg-Ward, who ran the original company. He did, yes. But the cars are built in China by a subsidiary of BAIC, the Beijing Automotive International Corporation. They've got a range of cars, all sort of SUVs, fairly pudding familiar looking, But the interesting thing about Borg-Ward is,
they've got a range. I thought they just had. Is it BX7? Is the one they're actually selling?
I think they've got 3 cars at the moment,
but we don't. On sale though.
I think so, yeah.
Because I think they put their first one on sale, and by all accounts, it wasn't selling particularly well in China, and the whole thing looked a bit shaky.
They are doing lots of knockdown kits into every emerging country: Indonesia, Thailand, I think Turkey, South America. Borg-Ward, they're all over the world moving cars around, but they're not here yet. But I would imagine they will at some point. We've got a bit of a resistance to Chinese cars here, but I don't think people will perceive Borg-Ward as a Chinese car because of the name and the heritage and the association with the original Borg-Ward.
Well, I don't think anyone knows what the original Borg-Ward was.
I think that's pretty.
We do, but we only just do. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. They're trying to pull the same trick as MG.
Yeah.
As SAIC with MG, which is sort of take an existing thing, and even though the cars now they're selling have nothing to do with what went before, it's sort of it's a familiar name. But Borg-Ward isn't a familiar name.
Yeah, and also with MG, so much more recent in the memory, as well as being a much bigger deal.
Once every few months I get sent a picture of an MG, a modern MG on the road by a different friend each time, going, what's all this about then? I thought they went bust in 2005. So MG's marketing isn't working that well, I would say.
Apparently not.
Over here, in China, they sold 250,000 cars last year. In Britain, 9,049.
MG?
Yeah.
I think that was a record as well, wasn't it? That's the best they've done.
They've got 4 cars in the range, the MG3, the MG ZS, which is an SUV, and the MG GS. Sorry, 3 cars in the range.
Yeah,
the MG
they've dropped
GS.
the MG6 now, so...
Yeah, that's right. Which won the British Touring Car Championship in 2012. Did you know that? Well,
I
MG as
did not know
manufacturers were using AAA, and I was unaware of this. I mean, I don't follow the Touring Car Championship, I'm embarrassed to say. But the fact that MG won it in 2012, fair play, you know. I know it was 888 who ran the car and all that, but fair play, they did that. Yeah, again, they're SAIC, Shanghai Automotive Industry Corporation. They didn't win the driver's part of the Touring Car Championship. That was Colin Turkington in a Honda Civic, but I thought it was a mention. All right, Cherry Automobile, or, in this case, Chorus, it said. I couldn't remember. I remember sending you guys a message earlier this week. What was the name of that BMW rivaling new brand who were Chinese funded and reckoned they were going to rival BMW? I couldn't remember, and eventually it came to me. It was Chorus. It's spelt Q-O-R-O-S.
Yeah, they've
Chorus,
haven't they, I think?
Well, the company had planned to sell models in Europe, piloted sales in Slovakia. But in April 2017, it formally announced it had no plans to sell cars in Europe for the foreseeable future.
Were they saying they were going to be a BMW rival?
That's how they build it. In fact, their range is the Chorus 3 and the Chorus 5, both available in hatch and sedan or saloon versions.
And they did have, God, I can't remember his name now, Gert Hildebrand or something, who used to design Minis, the new BMW Minis. Was their chief designer. The cars look quite nice in a sort of generic-y kind of way. Look
at the Chorus 3. It has a slight back end of an iPace about it. That sort of short Kurtz rear, you know. It's not a bad-looking car. And they started off manufacturing with an old Seat cast-off platform in 97. So they've come... Well, that was Cherry. And Cherry are 50% owners in the Chorus brand with Israel.
It's an Israeli company, isn't it?
Yeah, Israel Corporation, or a subsunt of them called Kennan Holdings, it says here. Kennan Holdings. But the clever thing I like about Cherry is they make trucks and vans as well under the name of Carry.
Yeah, quite like that.
Yeah.
Cherry also have a partnership with JLR to build Jags and Land Rovers in China. Great Wall. Now, they're not coming here.
But they have been here.
They're here with pickups and selling well. I don't know the numbers, but the Great Wall pickup, which in China is called the Wingle 5.
The what?
The Wingle 5.
The Wingle 5.
Yeah, the Great Wall Wingle 5.
So like a winglet, but with the T crossed off the end.
Little Wingle. It sounds like, oh, we can see your Wingle. Put your pants back on. Yeah, really. And their headquarters is in Birmingham. Wingle 5? I'm wondering if the people in Birmingham thought we can't call it the Wingle 5.
Well, isn't it, their headquarters is IM Group, isn't it, who imports Subarus as well?
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. They're in West Bromwich or Castle Bromwich? West Bromwich, I think. So, yeah, IM are...
Birmingham 46 or something.
Are their importer.
Their pickups are called the Steed and the Tracker, and they also sell SUVs as the Haval and the Way. They've got sub-brands. Way.
I can't remember who was the Chinese company that was making a sort of, I don't know if it was a licensed version of the Vauxhall Frontera or just a knockoff. I think it was licensed. Was that Great Wall? And it had like the worst crash test score of anything ever.
Quite possibly.
That rings a bell.
Including a horse.
There is some issues with Chinese crash protection, which I'll come to in a minute. There's also a lot of legal issues with Chinese cars. Fiat claimed that a Great Wall A-segment car, the Perry, sold as the Jingling in China, was a copy of the second-generation version of the Panda. In 2008, a Turing Court ruling substantiated the claim, stating that the Great Wall Perry doesn't look like a different car, but is a Fiat Panda with a different front end.
Turing Court really has no bearing whatsoever on a Chinese company.
Exactly.
They just go, well. Whereas, more relevant, Land Rover have finally, just in the past few weeks, won.
Oh, you think a judgment in a Chinese court?
Yeah. It's gone on for so long that, in fact, that Landwind, they've sort of facelifted it. It looks less like an Evoque now, and obviously there's a new Evoque, which does still look like an Evoque. But
it was a Chinese court who recognised there had been copyright infringement.
That's the significant part of that.
They've had to withdraw it from sale, they've had to stop manufacture, and pay money to JLR in compensation. That's a result, isn't it? Quite right too. I mean, it's a complete rip-off.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it almost feels like
it's
gone on for so long now that this habit of Chinese companies just sort of shamelessly borrowing the styling and who knows what else of European and North American cars. It feels like that moment's past anyway.
Yeah.
They're not knocking off all of these cars anymore because actually they've got their own
They're
ideas.
into a phase where they're doing their own original work a lot more. Yeah, although I'm pretty sure that intellectual property issues are still a problem for all kinds of manufacturers.
Oh, I don't doubt, but let's not kid ourselves. It's sort of like there's this great belief that the Chinese and other certain countries that are knocking off Western designs. But, for example, the way that British Leyland developed the back axle for the Austin Maestro was they went down to a VW garage, bought a back axle for a Polo, and put it underneath an Allegro with a few bits of strengthening, went, oh, that works all right, well, we'll just scale it up a bit, and that's how they did it. They just shamelessly nicked a VW idea. So it's not exactly as if Western car makers are completely above borrowing, in inverted commas, technical solutions from rivals if they work effectively. I'm sure that's going on in China. I'm sure it's going on all over the world.
Eastern manufacturers have been doing that for years, haven't they?
If somebody does have a particular, it does have a patent on a particular technology, you should compensate them for its use if it's a...
Well, it's going on now more, isn't it, with mobile phones and things like that, because there's all Apple and Samsung seem to be forever trying to sue each other for something or other. But in the more sort of naked and shameless passing off your design as
there's less
your
of
own,
that than there used to be.
I think that's if you look at, you can always do this search online. There's loads of cases. There's that Panda lookalike. I think it was Cherry. Was it the QQ? Was there?
That was right.
That looked like a Daewoo Matiz.
Yes, a dead ringer. There was even a 3-wheel version of it.
Yeah, we did.
There?
We had it on the Grand Tour, sort of something similar. And I can't remember what else. There were like loads of those.
Oh, pretty much everything.
Knockoff. And
lots of those.
Sorts. But these are all from sort of 15 years ago now. I think it's not really going on so much anymore now, as far as I'm aware.
There is a new wave of Chinese confidence in car design. Take, for instance, the Neo, the new brand Neo. They're in Formula E now. They hold the record of the Goodwood Hill with what's called the EP9, which is a track day car. Heck of a car. She's got water-cooled motors, which I didn't realise for an electric car.
It's quite tricksy, that. The interesting thing about the EP9 as well is because it's a track day car, and it's a bit like one of those Ferrari FXXs that you call them and say, I'd like to drive it on the track today. Well, they might need a bit more notice, actually, but you call them and say, I want to do this. And then they'll turn up with a tech support, and one of the things involved in that is they can hot swap the batteries. So you can get more track time, I guess.
They produce some other cars as well. The ES8, which is a 7-seat SUV sold in China, and the ES6, same but smaller. And the new one is this ET, great name for a car, which is rather good looking in a sort of a Kia Stinger sort of way.
Yeah.
And it's a proper handsome saloon, They're selling it or billing it as a Tesla Polestar rival, so it's a pure electric car. There's so much of stuff happening in China is right now. And I'm quite intrigued by that. Neo is quite a good brand, using Formula E to give it the halo effect, you might say, Okay, closely related to that, I mentioned a moment ago, Polestar, a division of Volvo, not a division of Geely.
Yeah, they're very interesting.
Their own, Geely own Volvo, but Volvo own Polestar, which is an interesting construction in terms of corporate construction. They're all under ultimate management by Geely.
I think the Polestar was sort of created as a division of Volvo.
Yeah.
Because if you look at that car, that coupe, it's a Volvo.
Yeah.
You can even see where the Volvo badges sort of ought to be.
Yeah.
Because they've decided to not make it a Volvo.
And
design like that.
It seems to me that my very quick take on Polestar is that they've got quite a good thing going on in being a really modern, fresh electric car brand, but underpinned with the boring solidity of Volvo.
Yeah.
The reassurance that this thing is going to work properly, but also it's all this exciting new technology that you want. And the products look really good.
They look very good.
I'm a fan.
There's two things going on with Polestar. There's actually two Polestars. There's Polestar Cars, which is a brand in their own right. There's also Polestar engineered Volvos, where there are sporting Volvos still under the Polestar thing. So they're clever. It's kind of like AMG. That's the best analogy. There are AMG Mercedes, and there is a pure AMG soon as well. Yeah, the coupe, the Polestar 1 coupe is a PHEV, and the Polestar 2 is 100% electric. Talking of electric, Faraday Future. Now, they're a curiosity. It's a funny-looking car. This is the FF91, which is sort of a big, very long wheelbase SUV. They're doing lots of testing at the moment. In Germany, they're testing in polar regions at the moment.
There was a lot of
will it ever happen?
Controversy over this one.
About the financing on it.
Yeah, I don't know where they're up to. I haven't bothered looking recently.
Well, they're taking $5,000 deposits for the car. There are two types of reservation. You can make a premium reservation for $5,000 or a reservation for $1,000. I don't know what the difference is when you get your car, but I reckon they're just bankrolling the development of the car just like Tesla do, by taking deposits. They're talking about another car coming soon, the FF81 in development. And their sort of USP is this multi-cell solution they talk about, where individual cells and groups of cells can be slotted out and replaced, rather than have to replace the entire battery pack in a car.
This
modular.
is as a servicing. This is a servicing option. In other words, so when some cells are going bad, you can replace some of them rather than the whole battery. This isn't a quick charging alternate, is it?
No, it's not battery swap. No, it's just when your cells die, you can pop a new one in. Brilliance Auto. China Brilliance. They used to be called Yangrong. You can see why that didn't catch on. Yangrong, how's that car? It's Yangrong, that work out at all. Their BS6 got 2 stars in German crash tests.
Oh dear.
When was that?
About 2009, I think. The importers HSO Motors in Spain went bankrupt in 2009.
Still going?
Yeah, China Brilliance, yeah.
Are you sure they haven't been
Not that I'm aware of.
That by someone else? Because they were sniffing around the peripheries of MG Rover back in, when was that, 2005?
It was Nanjing who bought them, and then they were acquired.
Got bought by SAIC, and I thought, what happened to Brilliance? Brilliance had a saloon that was designed by Jaguar, I think. It's quite nice looking.
They've got loads of...
I haven't heard anything from them for yonks.
China Brilliance are a government firm, and they have lots of...
Well, they technically all are. That's the weird thing. You know how, like, Jaguar's got the connection with Sherry?
Yeah.
And who else is linked to GM, sort of in bed with SAIC?
Yes.
And because as a Western company, you're not allowed to build a car factory in China, or you weren't, unless you had a partnership with a local company, which was basically, a state-owned concern. So I suppose they should, keep tabs on you. And this whole thing with Tesla now building a factory in China is, I think, the first example of a car factory that they haven't required
wholly owned, really,
a link with a domestic car maker, a domestic corporation of some sort.
To wrap this up, Brilliance Auto, they've got lots of partnership joint ventures with Toyota, BMW. They build cars on the behalf of the government over there. But launching a brand is very difficult. Look, here are some of the brands which came and went. I think they were Norwegian, weren't they? Scandinavian?
Yeah, they had those little electric cars about 15 years ago with Ford. Ford's backing, weren't they?
Ford absorbed them, then it vanished. Perodua, gone from this country. Yugo, gone from this country. Proton.
This is a very out-of-date list.
Well, these are gone. These are cars which have gone. The point I'm making, these are brands which have tried and failed. Even Daihatsu, gone. However...
Well, no, hang on. Daihatsu still exists. They're huge.
But not in this country.
They're part of Toyota, because they only sold small, cheap cars.
Yeah.
The yen to pound ratio just knackered them, and they couldn't make any money, so they bailed out. But they're really, really successful company
elsewhere.
Because they make K cars, those little.
Yeah. So they are still selling Daihatsus in Japan.
If you ever get the chance, go to Daihatsu's Japanese website, because they make some really.
I will check it out.
Great names.
I will check it out when I get home.
But to wrap this up, what I was trying to say was, many brands have come and gone from the UK. It is very difficult to establish yourself, but it can be done. Look how Dacia was brought back from the dead very successfully. Skoda on life support and is now a well-respected brand thanks to the VAG group. And even Venturi, that was sort of long forgotten, they're on the way back. They're going to be cool again. And elsewhere in the world, Datsun. I think they sell Datsuns in Russia, don't they now? Is that where it's sold?
They do, yeah. Certain developing markets as well. I don't know why. There's an interesting one, actually.
Rather than selling a Nissan. In other words.
Well, it sort of sits alongside.
It's a cheap Nissan, isn't it? Literally.
That cheapo car was designed to be sort of 5,000 quid or something, so it's sort of even sub a Sandero or Logan. On that note, at the recent Shanghai show, Renault have done this little electric car based on the Quid, which is their version of the cheapy Datsun entry-level car for India.
We're not talking about the Twizy.
No, it's a proper car, but it's pure electric, and it was designed to be sort of £7,000 or £8,000, and it was meant to be for developing markets. But they're now saying that in theory they could sell it anywhere. So you could actually get a sort of sub-Zoe. They are going to do that in China. That's the reason they announced it in Shanghai.
Well,
I was going to run through some of these other Chinese car companies I thought you were going to mention. But
well, I was just talking about brands that might be coming to the UK. That's what I was talking about. That was the theme of it.
Are they? Okay. Yeah. Because I was going to say, there's
there are
all
loads
these companies I've never even heard of that are doing cars that, look at that, there's a thing called an Aura.
Quite nice.
A little bit like that
mini-like.
Honda, that new Honda Urban EV as well.
Even the Ford 21C concept, there's an echo of that in it as well.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because China's gone absolutely nuts for EVs, so they're saying £7,000 for that.
Yeah.
And then something called an A-Ways, which again is an electric SUV that will be launched in Europe next year. Offered on a lease-only basis and expected cost less than £345 a month. And you kind of go, oh, hang on a second. If that's accurate, that's incredible. But A-Ways, who the...
anyway.
But you know, if
they're going to come in with
and it looks
a
all
proposition
right.
like that.
I mean, you can't really see so much from there. But it looks
Suicide doors.
It certainly looks like a modern, normal car. Yeah, I don't know if that's a bit concepty. But is that actually them or is that? Maybe that's the A-Ways, which looks like one of those.
That looks more like an SUV than the previous one.
But it's not revolting or stupid or anything. It's just a car. And look at that. That's
a Way. That's a Way. We just mentioned Way, the VV5.
Look at Way. That looks
gorgeous.
Like at the front. That reminds me of a Subaru SVX. Sort of reconfigured for the.
I wonder if Italian design had some sway in there. It's silver.
But anyway, I think it's really interesting. It's just you kind of go, well, now we sort of said for a while. Yeah. China will get its act together. When they were still copying things and when they were doing things that were a bit laughable, I think we've said on this show before, let's not laugh at them too much because they'll get their act together and they'll just come and destroy us.
It's
we're in the next phase now, aren't we?
Run for the hills! Run for Longbridge!
We'll never hear them coming because all their cars are electric as well.
Hi, this is Gareth Jones on Speed. We're all out testing cars at the moment, so we can't take this call. But if you leave a message, we'll get back to you. Speak after the beep. Thanks.
Listen, British podcasters, this is China. If you want to see Rover alive again, stop criticizing our cars. I repeat, we have Rover and Saab. And we do not want Infinity, so stop offering it to us, okay? Sniff Petrol with Gareth Jones on Speed!
I guess the theme of this episode of Gareth Jones on Speed is the shape of things to come. And as the sound of my gate closing behind me suggests, we've come outside to not only the shape of things to come, but the shape of things that are actually here. Richard's new iPace. How proud are you, Richard?
I'm very pleased with this. Very pleased indeed. It's been a long time coming as well, because I waited 6 months for this from ordering it. And then it turned up and they'd got the spec wrong.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, it's a little thing. Well, it's a kind of little thing. I mean, it's fine. It's all been sorted out. The dealer that I got this from, the lease company, put me in touch directly with the dealer, so it was their mistake. I ordered it with heated seats, and they forgot to put the heated seats on it, which I think is dumb. They should put the heated seats on the standard. That's Jaguar's bad call.
So what happened? You didn't send it back and say, put it back in with the right seats? What happened?
They could retrofit, but they wouldn't be factory spec. You'll see when we get in, it's got touch screens in there, and the heated seats work through the lovely heater controls, and each heater control has a little screen in the middle of it that shows a temperature, and you push it and it becomes the heated seat control, and it's all very nicely done. And they said, we can't do that. Obviously that's factory fit stuff, so what we could do is we'll put a heating pad in the seats and then we'll sort of put a little switch on it. And I went, that sounds terrible. Also, it's a multiplex wired car. It's like, I don't want you hacking into my wiring loom. It just sounds awful.
That's a disappointment, though.
It's just a bit annoying, but anyway, they gave me money back above and beyond the actual cost that I paid for these things I don't have, and gave me some floor mats as well, because it didn't come with floor mats, which again you go, God, you think they'd chuck those in for now. So yeah, it was fine.
You've spec'd it in some sort of electric blue. What do they call this colour, do you know?
They call it cesium blue.
Cesium, right, okay, I get right.
It's a nice zingy colour, isn't it? I mean, obviously it's dark now, but if you could see it in the light, and it wasn't dirty because some builders got crud all over it while I wasn't looking, which is disappointing because it's new, this car, it's got 400 miles on it or something. It's a nice colour, this.
So, have you seen one in the flesh before?
I have, yes. I'm still kind of getting to know the looks of the iPace now. I think it's a good-looking car, but it still doesn't look like a Jaguar to me, in a way.
I think it's hard to read at first, and then the more that you look at it, fundamentally it's a very good bit of design. They've obviously put the work in. They've sweated over it. I discovered an angle. I was looking out our bedroom window yesterday, and it was parked in the street, nose away from our house and a few doors down, and a high-angle rear three-quarter. I noticed some new bits on it I hadn't spotted before. There's some really interesting aero on it as well. If you look at the way that the roof actually drops down quite dramatically below the spoiler, you can see it's got quite a big gap below there, and then you've got these little cat ears that stick up at the back.
Oh, they're cat ears,
well, that's what I think they look like. Directly from the back, they look like cat ears.
Or bat ears. There could be a touch of sort of more recent era Batman.
A Batois.
Well, from about the angle that I'm at here, there's a touch of the bat ear about.
You also notice this, because it's quite curvaceous, as Jags often are here. It's quite sort of, voluptuous almost. Yeah. But then you get to the back and it's actually quite
straight line,
quite straight lined and quite hard, and that's all aero. It's entirely for aero, because they obviously want to try and make electric cars as aerodynamically optimised as possible.
The most Jaguar thing about it I see is this line at the end of the rear window, which was on that, was it called the CX6? Do you remember that concept, that lovely concept that Ian Callum did of a Jaguar sort of hatch? I mentioned it.
RD6, yeah.
RD6, thank you. That's absolutely RD6 again, that is. I like that.
Yeah, overall, I think you can tell where it's come from, but the proportions are completely different, because they can be, because it's electric, and they've decided to milk that. I mean, it's quite a hard car to read, in as much as you kind of go, well, they're selling it as an SUV. It does sit quite high, but at the same time, it's quite sleek. It's like a sleek hatchback that's been jacked up, so it's not immediately obvious what it is. I love this at the front as well, the way it's got haunches at the front now, which other Jags, I think, probably don't, but there's quite a big...
Almost like a fender over the front wheel, and a raised
my
section.
Absolute favourite bit, just because it's quite tricksy and it's functional, is that this slot here in the bonnet, if you look at the top of the grille, I've been told several times by Jag people they do need cooling at the front, so electric cars won't always bin off a grille, and this one, though a lot of the grille is false, but there's a slot at the top of it that you can barely see, and the air goes through here, and that's sort of powering the air across the top over the windscreen.
And that's like the nose of the CX-75. Yeah, that's 675.
No, there's quite a bit of CX-75 sort of little bits and pieces in this, I think. Pretty try to do. Yeah, it's gorgeous. 675.
Pretty square, tall. What height is it? Let me stand next to it. I'm 5'10" and a half. I'd say it's 5'3" or something like that. 5'2". Let's get in it and go for a drive, because we're going to run out of time. I'll sit in the back. Oh, look at your pop-out door handles. I'll sit in the back, and then I can reach both of these guys with my recorder. Don't start it up yet, Richard. I want to hear the bling.
So, as is usual with electric cars, it makes a noise.
Yep.
That's fine, and it's still got a bit of new car smell.
I know, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that at the moment. It's a heady...
Hang on, I'm trying to get my seatbelt in whilst holding a recorder. Stand by.
Nice, clean
interior.
Dash.
Is it very dark blue interior, or is it black? I can't see in this light.
It's black. This is just the standard interior, because that's what it came with. This is the mid-spec. Right, I'm going to start it up.
Just a blow, so not 3 chimes like a Japanese car at all. Just a blow. And the headlights did a sort of a dippy thing.
Yeah, they're LED headlights, so they're a little bit tricksy, I guess. And obviously they're automatic, because it's a modern car, so they just come on because it's dark. Very
big horizontal 16:9, in fact more, 21:9 screen, I would say, up there.
Yeah, and this is all good, and it's swipey. This is your main screen. It's quite sort of plain and functional, but I don't mind that. But then you swipe to the screen that exists to the left of it, and this is the important one, because this has got your controls that you can set the regen to either be low, in which case the car just sort of freewheels like a normal car, or you set it to the high setting and you can then sort of one pedal drive it, like if anyone's ever driven an i3, they just have that one setting and you drive them on one pedal. You know, the new Nissan Leaf, you can decide, and with this you can also decide if you want the car to creep like an automatic, let it just sort of crawl forwards without you touching any of the pedals, or not.
So would you freewheel, set it in the low regen mode when you were on sort of faster, longer routes?
Yeah, I think on the motorway you don't want the aggressive regen, because it feels like you suddenly sort of hit a sticky patch if you ever lift off. You actually want to keep your momentum going. I've left it in freewheeling actually at the moment, because I've got used to that. When I first had it, I was driving it with the aggressive regen on, because I quite like the challenge of going, I'll just drive everywhere with
regenerative braking.
Yeah, try not to actually use the brake pedal. It's quite interesting. And then there's all sorts of tricksery things you can do. On this bottom screen, it's normally your climate control, but you can flick your phone down here, or you can have your stereo what's on there if you want to have the top screen as your full.
Go back to that previous screen, Richard. Is that your screensaver on your phone that it brings up or something?
No, it's a thing. This is in all recent Jags, bizarrely, on the phone page of wherever they are. They have an old-fashioned phone box depicted.
It looks a little bit
Apparently, people in other countries really like it.
Of course they do.
Because it's very British.
Very heritage.
So, although I sort of go, well, that's a little bit twee, apparently it plays well abroad, certain places, so fair enough.
And it somehow reminds me of an American werewolf in London.
Let's reverse out of here, shall we? We're in the dead end of where we live.
You might hear that it makes a...
beep beep.
It beeps when it reverses. It's quite bizarre.
And it looks black and white, that rear view screen. Is that because it's dark at the moment and it's in
just 'cause
full
it's
colour?
Dark. It's colour screen. It's not super high res, but it's perfectly serviceable screen. Where are we going?
Turn left here, I'll direct you somewhere. And we'll go for a loop around the block.
And off we go in lovely silence.
It feels like we've got a lot of room in front. I mean, sitting in the front seats here, feels like we've got a lot of space in front of us.
Yeah, and do you know what's funny is
that windscreen looks a long way away.
Yeah, but the nose is really snubby.
Yeah.
I'm constantly parking much further away from things than I need to, even with the parking sensors.
I can imagine.
Because I'm going, they're sort of still doing the relaxed, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, and I sort of find myself going, I'm bloody not fine.
Yeah, it's very sort of S-Max E1 box, isn't it? That glass house with a snub nose. Oh, I can hear it. Or is that the helicopter overhead?
You won't be able to hear this. Now, there is a sound synthesis thing, and I've got it turned off, because as far as I'm concerned, electric cars, part of what I like about them is how smooth and quiet they are.
Yeah. Why would you have the
This you
noise?
can turn up. There's 3 settings. I've got it in off. If you whack it right up to what they call dynamic, the maximum setting, it's most noticeable when you really clog it. It does a faux engine sound. They spent a long time developing this to sort of make it mimic the sound of, or at least the sense of an engine, and the way it rises with acceleration and stuff and gets more urgent. But I just don't particularly care for it. Sometimes you're barely aware of it. It just sounds like it's a slightly gravelly background noise, and it's annoying.
But is
I'd
it
rather
kind of
have
an
silence.
electric? And is it sort of an electric motor sound, or is it a kind of internal combustion engine sound? What sort of?
I could try and turn it on. Do you know what? To be honest, I can't even remember where it is in the menus. It's somewhere in here.
Now, the reason I brought you this way is look what's parked there.
A Tesla.
Yeah, a Model
Nice
X.
breed there.
Can we line up alongside it, just compare size just for a second? Because that's what I wanted to do.
Bigger, isn't it? It's bigger. It's certainly taller.
Yeah.
I worked out this is the same size in footprint, it's broadly the same size as our outgoing Mercedes GLC. So it's sort of medium-sized SUV size, but lower. It's quite a bit lower than the Merc. It must be much lower than that Tesla, because those Model X's are actually quite tall, aren't they? Because of the big arched roofline. It's not a huge car. I don't know what you find. I think it always looks like it's. I'm sat in the back.
Yeah.
Looks like it's got quite a lot of room in the back there.
It's quite uprighty in a sort of Giugiaro tall car kind of way, which means that it makes good use. You're not reaching your legs out underneath the seat in front. It's fine. But the seat seems low. My knees seem higher than me bum. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. You know, I'm not in a coupe, but neither am I in a 4x4 sitting on top of the seat. It's somewhere in between the two, but it's very good. And the kids like the glass roof so they can spot aeroplanes. I remember you saying that before.
Yeah, so the only thing is, unlike a lot of cars with glass roofs which have a sunblind, this doesn't. It's just got a very heavily tinted roof, and it's actually a bit too tinted, I think, because sometimes you struggle to see what's going on up there. The kids like it because they've got a better view back there. It really makes a difference because it's right over their heads. In the front here, your head is almost sort of level with where it's ending. You have to look right up to see out.
So what'll it do, Richard? What'll it do?
The 0-60 time's like 4.5 seconds or something. It's
Terrific.
Hey,
Man, that's
It's got some pickup.
You didn't see that, but Richard just floored it, and Zog and I were both really chucked back into the back of the seats. That's great.
It's got some pep. I slightly surprised a chap in a Mercedes C63 coupe on a long slip road the other day, because I saw him coming. He came off the roundabout onto a long slip road on the M1, and he came off with some vigour. I could see him closing in on me, and I thought, you know what, I'm not having this sunshine, so I just stepped on it, and I think he was quite surprised at how I accelerated away from it.
Briskly you picked up speed.
What is that guy's problem? And yeah, he was quite shocked when I sort of disappeared, and then he expressed his anger by absolutely slamming it on the motorway and zooming off into the distance in a cloud of V8 fury. I think he's a bit irritated that he didn't expect that blue car to bugger off. But yeah, it got some pep, and obviously because it's electric, it just sort of goes. You don't have to wait for it to spool up a turbo or come on cam. It just goes. And
we like that about electric cars. If you like cars, you like a performance car. If you drive an electric car, you've got that instant performance from zero. If you like cars, you like refinement. Electric cars give you refinement. There's no reason not to like an electric car, really, is there? We can go round this roundabout and come back the way we just came, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a bit of moaning. I think the people who moan the most about electric cars and go, oh no, I'm going to stick with my V8, thanks very much, are generally people who haven't driven them. I think if you drove this car, or, you know, a Tesla, I imagine, or anything, any modern, quick electric car, I think you would struggle to hate it.
Oh,
certainly, because there's something very compelling about it. One of the things I'm interested in, oh dear, there's a lot of policey things going on up here. We're not going to get through there.
Go right.
No, I think
no,
right
I
is
don't
where
think
we
I
can't
can.
go.
Right is where the police are.
Oh, is it? Is that what that bus driver is trying to tell us about then, perhaps?
I don't know.
Oh dear me, has there been a stabbing or a shooting in the hood again?
Oh God, there's loads of police all up there as well.
Oh dear. Yeah, we've got to go left.
An incident. I do understand how people can miss something in old school automotive engineering, in that, to me, there's no question that an electric motor is a far better way to propel a vehicle than an internal combustion engine. It's more efficient, it's simpler, it's got so many advantages over the internal combustion engine.
Fewer moving parts.
Oh, yeah, exactly, like I say, simpler. But I also see absolutely how the complexity and the sort of pig-headed wrongness of an internal combustion engine is part of why it can be fun to own a car with one of those engines and to keep it running and to have some kind of relationship with it, which can be a deeper relationship than you might have with a simpler, less temperamental, easier to service, more efficient, cheaper to run electric car.
It's funny actually, because I've been driving this quite a bit, just round and about, because it's my new toy. But then I went out in my Porsche, which not only has the pig-headedness of internal combustion engine, but pig-headedly puts it at the back of the car when everyone else is putting it at the front. And I'd forgotten how much I really like my Porsche. And particularly, and I know it sounds weird, of all the things to pick, characteristics of a 10-year-old Porsche 911, was how little it is. Because it
is a small car. Yeah,
it's a really wee car. And I was just like, sort of zipping about in it, going, "Oh, this is nice," and a bit of exhaust noise, obviously, a bit of sense of mechanical stuff going on. But then it's nice to get back in this and just go, so smooth.
It just works so well.
Yeah, throw that into the mix. I'm getting close to a really, really solid 3-car garage, because then I've got my Defender as well as stupid, rattly, chunky old thing.
Proper old school.
But it has its special skills as well, and it's quite a nice collection.
Yeah.
Of different abilities and strengths and weaknesses, but also, let's be honest, just personalities, characteristics. They all do very different things in different ways. None of them even run on the same stuff.
Yeah. All you need now is a hydrogen fuel cell car to complete the mix, really, don't you?
Yeah, maybe a bicycle and a horse.
This car, what's the longest journey you've done on it so far? How close have you got to its limit of range?
Now, there's a funny thing, actually, because I drove up to Jaguar in Coventry.
Yeah.
Because I won a charity auction for a one-off Ian Callum sketch, and bless him, gent that he is, he said, why don't you come up to Coventry and pick it up in person, and we'll go for lunch or something, because I know Ian a little bit and he's a nice guy, and I always love talking about design and shizzle with him. And in the end we didn't go for lunch because we just spent so long just talking nonsense and talking about all sorts of stuff, and I got my signed picture, and then he had a print of his first sketch of this car. And he signed that for me as well. So it's not an original, but it's a print of his original.
Oh, nice.
But he signed a couple of sketches for my kids and stuff as well. So I've definitely got my charity money's worth there. Yeah. But I had to drive up to Coventry. I've talked about before, I was going to rely on the charger around the corner from my house. Well, it wasn't working for me when I went to charge this up the night before. App wouldn't talk to the charger. Mm-hmm. I thought, fine, I'll just leave a bit early in the morning. I'll do it on the way. And then I just had a nightmare with chargers. Just not working or occupied. And in the end, I was suddenly like, I haven't got time to stop again, or I'll be late. I'll just have to take it easy. But when you put something in the nav here, if it's further than the car will go, it'll go, you're going to have to stop and charge. Would you like me to show you where you might do that?
That is good.
Which
design.
is good.
Yep.
But what's interesting is, I did that in the nav, and I went to please take me to Whitley in Coventry, and it went, yeah, you're not going to get there, mate. And I was like, yes, I bloody am.
We'll see about that.
Interesting experience driving below the speed limit on the motorway.
Yeah.
Hypermiling.
Yeah, I was doing a lot. I was driving it.
So
Thankfully, there was some. Oh, so thankfully, the only time you say thankfully, there was some roadworks with average speed cameras. So I had to do 50.
Yeah.
But then I never went above 60.
Okay.
And
Sit behind lorries at 56.
sit behind.
Get the
sit
aerodynamic
behind-
efficiency.
Yeah, a bit of sitting behind lorries.
Yeah.
General, just sort of taking it easy. And after a while, I didn't set the cruise, I set the limiter, because it's got a limiter as well. So set the limiter so I would never go too fast, because if you let this car just have its head, it wants to do 90, and it's inefficient speed for it, but it's just because it's got so much grunt.
And good aerodynamics. And,
So I, and the car, I just took it easy. And I was watching as the range, it didn't really go up, it just didn't go down.
yeah.
And suddenly the predicted range on the dash was exceeding the mileage to destination on the nav. So then the nav had no reason to get panicky, and I had no reason to get panicky, and I just stuck a podcast on, and I was like, actually, this is all right. It's become a challenge.
Yeah.
That's how it became tolerable, because it was like, I am not going to be late, and I am not going to break down for lack of electricity. I'm going to get there. And I got there. When I first put it into the nav and go, right, I've just got to do this, it seemed to think I'd have, a 15-mile shortfall. And when I got there, I had 12 miles left.
And this was on a journey of how many miles, roughly?
I can't
200
remember.
and something?
No, a bit less than that, I guess. 100
Coventry's
something.
100 from North London,
maybe, yeah. And I didn't have a full battery. That's the annoying thing. I wanted to have a full battery to set off with, but no. And I'd already spoken to someone at Jag, because they said, oh yeah, when you arrive, come in, just tell security, your name will be on the gate, they'll direct you through. We reserved you a space outside Ian Callum's office that's got a car charger, so you can charge up, because I told them I was coming in my iPace.
Yeah.
And then I discovered when I left an interesting quirk of trying to leave a Jaguar property in a Jaguar. They want to be damn sure that it is your car and you're not stealing it.
Of course.
So they went, is this your car, sir? And I went, yeah, it is actually. Really? I went, yeah, I'm just visiting. I've just been visiting in Callum in the design centre. Right, but this is your car. It's not a company vehicle. It doesn't belong to Jaguar Land Rover. I went, no, honestly, it's mine. I was then thinking, I've no paperwork in here to prove that. And I suddenly thought, first I was like, what a needlessly fiddly thing. And I was like, well, of course. There's hundreds of cars on this site.
Yeah.
If they don't keep tabs on this, everyone's just walking off with cars.
What
did you do?
One of your number one responsibilities as a Jaguar security guard is stopping people from stealing the Jaguars.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty high on the list.
What did you do to convince them that it was your car in the end?
I just kept insisting it was my car, and I don't know
Fair
if
enough.
they clocked that it's on, because this came through a dealer in Manchester, so it's on Manchester plates, and all the Jag company stuff is on Midlands plates, but I mean, I guess I could have put Volvo plates on it. I don't know. In the end, I don't know why he suddenly gave in. Maybe it's just my persistence. Maybe that's right. If you work at Jag Land Rover and you want to nick something, be persistent.
Maybe you were just very, very persuasive, very convincing.
Maybe. I smiled sweetly.
I'm reminded of Robin Williams when he does an explanation of British police. You know, British police don't carry guns. Stop! Otherwise I'll say, stop! Again! And all you had to do to convince the man that it was your car was not produce any hard evidence, just simply insist in a very British way that it was your car.
Just a little bit of Obi-Wan Kenobi. The iPace you're looking for. I don't know, maybe they're just a bit cynical about electric cars and they're just thinking, well, he won't get very far, will he? So,
yeah, we'll catch up with him 10 miles up the road.
So yeah, I juiced up while I was gassing with Ian Callum and another guy at Jag, and then I had enough charge to get home, but I wanted to sort of experiment, see if I could get a charge out one of those Ecotricity fast chargers that are on the motorways, which I'm rapidly discovering are a bit hopeless. So I stopped. I can't remember which service area it was, but I pulled in, and already parked there was another iPace, same colour as this one, with a very disgruntled man next to it.
Because the charger wasn't working?
The charger wasn't working, and he was in fact on his way back to the dealership that he'd got his from, because he was considering rejecting it because he said the range was too bad, and he was getting 100 and so miles out of it. And I was like, I think there's something wrong with your car, mate.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, he went, well, good luck with these chargers, because I have tried both of them. That one won't even switch on, and that one won't recognise the car. And I went, oh, that's no good. All right, I'll give it a try. Plugged it in, bing, worked perfectly. And he went, and I was like, yeah, I think there might be something up with your car. So I went and got a coffee, went for a wee. It was a sunny afternoon. Sat outside with my coffee in the sunshine and answered some emails that had come in while I was yakking with Jag people. Just thought I'd let it juice up for a bit. And then I got a message on my phone while I was replying to some emails that said, your charge has finished, after about 15 minutes. And that was an ecotricity thing. It had just decided to disconnect me for reasons I still don't understand. So, yeah, as usual, I think it's still the story. I think this car is pretty terrific, but I think if your use case was a little different to mine, which is lots of little journeys, Gareth, you set off an anger in the car from
By undoing my seatbelt whilst you're still in drive. You've been listening to the silence of Richard's iPace and Zog.
Goodbye.
And Richard.
Goodbye.
And me, Gareth. Have you got a name for your car? Have you named it, Richard?
off.
You don't give cars names?
Never.
This one's called Carlos.
I can't believe you even asked that.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site, follow us on Twitter, or to find out about sponsorship opportunities, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whizbang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!